Go Pizza presents SDP. The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle and Adam Wylde.
Oh my God. Okay, can I just say that the Polak jokes floating around this studio before the show started today are just, they're sad. They're sad. I mean,
you think so?
Well, they're sad, but they're great. I mean, we're in mid-season form already, so I mean, the fact that he's here on PTO, it's great. It's great, just for the jokes.
Yeah?
Yeah, just, the fact that he's been
Give
working.
me some.
Well, he's been working hard all summer, which
means what?
He's Spolak, Steven.
Oh!
Spolak.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah!
Oh, he couldn't get a contract before training camp, but it's not for lack of trying.
Oh. Hey, we have a guest here who's actually doing the drums for us, and can you
That's right.
Can you maybe introduce her?
We got Storie Serres,
Woo!
social media extraordinaire.
Hello.
Now
That rhymes.
Thank you for saying my last name correctly.
Serres.
Serres.
A lot of people may not know your name, but they know your tweets.
They do.
So let's talk about quickly. You are a freelance social media person.
Yes.
Which is a job. I remember reading an article like 2-3 years ago that said social media people will not exist in a couple years, and I'm finding
Really?
more and more
They
and more.
were wrong.
They were wrong.
Wrong.
Because this article assumed that everybody would just know how to use it.
No.
And if there's anything that I've learned from watching my parents' Facebook, it's that they are becoming less and less good at it as we move forward. So you need that person. So you work for Sportsnet and...
I work for Sportsnet, which includes hometown hockey. I have worked for Rogers. I've worked for the IIHF, which is the International Ice Hockey Federation. In my previous life, I worked for Castrol Motor Oil.
Awesome.
Castrol Canada. Learned a lot about motor oil really quick.
That's what I know you from.
Yes, of course you would. Telling you all about the sales about motor oil.
I need to know.
But I kind of really got my start in music. So I transitioned from music into cars and the automotive stuff to hockey, which is really
what in music?
Yeah, was it a record label?
I worked for a record label for 2.5 years, 3 years, something like that.
Can we ask which one? Or
Yeah, I worked for 604 Records.
Oh, okay. Yeah, out of Vancouver, right?
Yeah. So I actually never worked for them. Wow, that's amazing.
How do you know
Out of
that?
Vancouver.
Well, you have to kind of have to know that.
604 area code.
Yeah, and also, I mean, like it's like Nickelback and Marianas Trench and Headley and all the Canadian.
Headley.
Oh, not Headley.
Headley is Universal.
Oh, they're Universal, right? But like my bad. But like a lot of the West Coast bands are based out of that.
Yeah. So like you said, Nickelback, Marianas Trench, Theory of a Dead Man. I worked with My Darkest Days.
Favorite Drive too.
Favorite Drive.
Yeah.
Who else? I worked with Coleman Hell very, very briefly. Man.
Coleman's a nice guy.
Great guy.
Like him.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Thunder Bay. Represent.
Thunder Bay.
Not for me.
Yeah.
I like your little music biz talk.
Yeah, we can talk about the music biz.
Let's not, because we're gonna bore we're gonna bore like 30% of the audience who are American, have never heard of these acts except for Nickelback.
Right.
But
and Theory of a Dead Man and My Darkest Days actually.
Yeah.
My Darkest Days and
30% would be bored because I get like
30% of stats are incorrect.
Half in the room.
Fair enough.
Here are bored.
Anyway, that's really cool that you work for 604.
Yeah, so I that's really where I got my start, though, is I interned with 604 for 6 months and then kind of made a job for myself through handling their social media, handling their street teams, and really kind of carving that digital niche. I just realized I was good at it, and I took it over. Those jobs, there were people who were doing it who weren't really interested in doing it, so I took that over and made a job for myself, and then I had a job for 2.5 years.
Amazing.
So it was pretty great.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's really what social media is. It's opportunities and what your career is. Like the kind of thing I always have in the back of my mind, or always did while I was working in music, is if you can't find the job that you want, you just make it. And so, if there's a job that you really want, just go for it and give it a shot.
I am making myself CEO 2 of Rogers.
Yeah.
Because there's only one, and there needs to be a second, so that's what I'm going to do. That's my goal.
You know how many people listening right now are like, oh, yeah, I'll just do that then. Oh, yeah, I'll just make a job. But she's absolutely right.
Absolutely.
But
It's a little bit more complicated than that, obviously.
Yeah, you can't just be like, I can't just, I'm going to go do this magically. You have to work at it. And if there's a job that you want, and a company that you want to work for, find the right people and make a case for yourself and say, you should hire me because of this.
So should I call Scott Moore and be like, I'm going to be also Scott Moore? And then be like, I will also be president, sir. I will be prime minister of NHL at Rogers.
You'll be Scott Moore. Right.
Wow.
That was actually good.
Wow. Steve Dangle, everybody.
Now, would that be with 1
That's
O
it.
or 3?
Mic drop and he leaves.
I think it should be 3.
I think it should, Scott's got
It'd be
2.
Moore. Like, it'd be
Moore.
that'd be, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you make people
Well,
say,
if it was Scott Moore, actually reducing the O's, because his is 2 O's, right? So
Yes.
Scott Moore, president of Rogers, the NHL, everything here. And so if you take one out, then you're actually Scott Moore. Like you're Moore.
Yes.
It's not a
but
last
I
name,
need
it's
to be-
Moore.
But more than more would be 3. Anyway,
Back to you.
So what
And
you
like
did-
Scott is actually, I have to say, like Scott is actually such like an amazing person and has always really supported the work that I've done. And like, if you're looking, and I'll just throw that out there that the team that I work for and work with at Sportsnet, and that's everyone from Scott Moore down is, and with Rogers, like, is really amazing. And I'm truly, truly super lucky to get to work in such a supportive environment all the time from the top down, and and have like amazing leaders who support me creatively and support my crazy ideas, which is great.
They're
So,
probably not listening to this, right?
I know, but I just feel like I have
I'm
to
kidding,
say that
I'm
because
kidding.
it's but if they do
might
or
because of her.
maybe,
Oh,
but it's
yeah.
just like kind of. I think as much as finding the job that you want to do and finding the career that you're really good at and finding your great skills, it's also about finding the team that supports you and where you can grow and expand. And like with Sportsnet, I have that, and with Rogers, I have that. So all the projects that I work on, I feel supported. I feel encouraged. I have mentors. I have people I can go to, and I have people like Scott Moore who actually recognize that the work that you do is valuable, and a lot of times with social media, the hardest part is reminding people that they have to pay you for that there's a reason why they pay
Remind
you.
Right,
that
yeah.
It's not just fun and games. I have a Twitter
Yeah,
account. You're
yeah,
actually
and that
doing
not
work.
anybody can do your job. And so when you get recognized when you do great work, and that comes from Scott Moore and Dana and Mike and Gary and like when it comes from all of these different places and people, it really just encourages you to work harder and do more and give more of yourself.
It's interesting that you say that because the mark of a great manager is somebody who can identify what it is you do and make you feel good about it when you've done a great job.
Absolutely.
Because that will motivate you to do better again the next time, right? It's not the yelling and the screaming and the intimidating. It's always so what I found, Scott's really good at that. He really is a great motivator, and he gets the content part. He's a fan. So he understands why fans react the way they do. He understands why certain personalities work on TV and on radio the way they do. Dan gets it. Dave gets it. Dave Cadeau, as in like the head of Sportsnet radio basically across the country now.
Having him as a boss is a gift.
Sure it is.
Because Cadeau.
Yes,
yes,
I
and
got
Cadeau.
it. That
You
was
can
good.
Google it. You
Anyway,
you
it's
can say it Cadeau.
Cadeau.
so it's nice to hear you say that because it really is. I mean, it's a pretty special place.
I have a question. What is Scott's one thing that he says to you whenever he sees you? Because whenever he sees me, he's just like, "Hey, Steve, still got a big head," and says that to Adam too. And it used to be within the context of something, and now it's just like, "Hey, big head," and then he just keeps walking because he's, all those nice things that you just said about him. Yes, but he's got this managerial thing about him where he just knows how to work a room.
Oh.
And he just
he says that.
identifies me like the Terminator. There's Steve. Brrr, goes through the Rolodex, big head.
Context.
Shouts it, and then walks away.
Context is Scott. He said, well, one of the things he said to me once was like, he's like, well, you've got the TV thing. All TV people have big heads. So he's like, that's
Okay.
good for you. So
Cool.
he's hilarious that way. But
he literally, his thing that he says to me, "Hey, Storie, how's it going?" Or something to that effect.
Wow.
He says, "Hello."
He likes you way
"Hey,
more.
Storie, how
Way
are
better.
you?" He asked me how I am. Standard pleasantries. I don't know. Now I feel sad.
No,
I'm like,
no, you shouldn't.
I don't know.
No, that's
Do
good.
I should have
That's a good
I don't
thing.
have
No,
a very
no.
big head though, so it's like I have a normal sized.
well,
head,
if you ever
so.
got that, like if you ever, had head enhancement
enhancement,
surgery,
okay,
then
yeah.
you would know what to expect.
Growing in
Can I
popularity.
I'm gonna Google. Can we Google that?
I don't know if you can do that.
Anyway.
Okay. So let's talk. I want to talk about.
If ever became Leaf captain, a lot of people would start getting cosmetic big head surgery. Yes, the one person on Earth. Two people on Earth have a bigger head than me: JVR and Justin Fisher.
Tydomi as well.
I feel like then we're on a show of Botched, and it just goes reality.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, when you are running a channel like Sportsnet, and I refer to their Twitter as a channel because it really is. I mean, it represents the brand.
Yep.
You're not just like the programming. You are the voice.
Yes.
So you have to talk and write in the Sportsnet voice.
Yes, which is very different from the hometown hockey voice, which is very different from the Rogers voice, and very different from every other social.
So
voice.
how do you differentiate that? I mean, I know you do a lot of work with hometown hockey.
Yeah.
So when you're posting things, how do you go? Yeah, that's what I want, or what's the viewpoint there?
It's really about embodying a character, and I grew up in theater, so for me, I think about a character, and I think about who is Sportsnet or who is hometown hockey, and I say, okay, well, especially with Castrol Motor Oil, that was probably the hardest character I had to be because
hey everybody.
Because I had to be like a 20 to 30-year-old male car loving guy, and I'm like,
I thought you had to be a liquid.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I had to kind
Castrol
of
Motor Oil is your friend.
Yes, is the product that I'm going to talk about.
It's a friend who likes to talk to you about things like viscosity.
Exactly. I had to learn about viscosity and like those kinds of things. So, and clearly I am not someone who, not clearly, but I'm not someone who has ever actually changed their oil. So it's like I'd
say that's most of us at this point.
Yeah, I would just take it into a garage and to a person and be like, I need my oil changed, and then they do it. And so I have to become that person who knows how to change their oil.
Right.
And same thing with any other channel. So it's just about understanding who is our audience and also what is the subject of what I'm tweeting about or what I'm posting about. Because sometimes you might have to be this 20 to 30-year-old male who loves sports, who loves cars, for one type of one post and some content, but then you might have another piece of content that is really aimed at women. So you have to say, okay, I'm a golf loving, 30-year-old woman. So what does that sound like? Or I'm on a street team and I love music. So what does a 16-year-old fangirl sound like? And it's just really about, the best way I can describe it is getting into character and really feeling that character and knowing, like, as it's like method acting. Mm-hmm. You really have to just like, you just, you like think about I think of everything from the backstory to their interest to
like a general, like, so it's like here's general person between the ages of this and this, and you actually go into that.
Yeah, I kind of think about like, who is this person? And as you're developing that brand voice, which is so critical to your success and your success as a brand on social, you really start to get into like, what is my background? What am I interested in? Who am I? What is kind of the breakdown of what
That's amazing.
Who am I kind of thing. So it's not me.
I've never thought of it that way. I've always thought about who am I talking to?
Yes, and who are you talking to?
As that person.
I mean, and to be fair, I don't think that's fair. I mean, you look at Smart Insider Man, and I mean,
whoever runs that account.
whoever is that guy. So Smart Insider Man is a account that breaks NHL rumors, right? Because Nick Kyprios and Elliot Friedman can, eat dirt. Those guys, they've got nothing on Smart Insider Man, who breaks rumors.
Let's talk about the future.
Yeah, right?
Smart Insider Man.
So, when you do something like that, you're in character. When you do Hat Guy, you're in character.
Yeah. Even as Steve Dangle, like even with your Twitter, when it's a person, I think it's different when you're a person and you're a brand as a person and then a brand as an organization. Because as a person, you already have your character, and even developing your persona is developing your character, and you're thinking about, and that includes thinking about who am I speaking to and who is my audience. But as a brand, you really have to think in a bit of a broader term, and also be willing and also be conscious that you might change that voice based on the content you're putting out. So if you have one campaign that's very much dedicated to, diehard Leafs fans, you're going to talk in one voice. If you have another side of it that's dedicated to like, Toronto Furies fans, you might talk in a different voice. Or if you're going to talk to golf fans, you're going to talk in a different voice. So it's like, what is my content? Who am I? And what is my character for this post?
Wow.
Or for this campaign? I'm very much a fan of improv classes, and I would honestly say the coolest thing is, or like the most kind of, as I look back on like, reasons like, why am I good at this? Where did I get this from? Because I didn't go to school for social media. There's not really you can take classes and stuff, but
there might be now, but
there
like
are
not
now.
when we were in
like 10 years ago, there was no class for social media. So like I didn't go to school for social media, but I just learned how to do it by taking improv classes all my life and having acted and doing and finding characters and developing characters. And then also improv teaches you how to think on your feet really quickly, and which is the key to doing social media when you're on site, for example.
Not to derail the conversation, but was improv not one of those things just like school that you didn't finish, Adam?
Improv?
Yeah.
Well, I took improv at the Second City. And because there's Second City Toronto, so I took it, and I did finish it. No, I finished it.
Oh.
I just didn't go beyond the A level because they have improv classes on like a Friday afternoon or something when everybody's working. I'm like, who can get time off during this? But people in the theater can.
Yes.
But I can't. So it was like, well, I can't take these classes anymore. But they're amazing.
Yeah.
They're so cool.
Yeah.
Like I spent I think it's like 3 or 4 weekends in a row, all day in improv classes.
It's just fun. You're just playing around and you just get to have fun and you get to be silly. But some improv is really serious. Like I've taken some, a lot of improv gets this kind of like serious, funny, either you're going to be like really hilarious and jokey, or you're going to be super serious and yell all the time. But I've done, or you're going to be really excited and yell. So anyway, it's just kind of an interesting, but improv can have so many different lives, and there's so many different things you get to learn and focus on that it really teaches you kind of I think some of the core principles of how to be good at social media.
This is part of the reason why I wanted to have you on the show. Like, besides the fact that you're fun to talk to and you have great stories, I mean, it's in the name, right? Because every day, single? Okay,
that's usually my lame joke is when I introduce myself to people, I say, hi, my name is Storie, and I tell stories.
Well...
So I
that.
make fun of my name as much as...
That's great. That's cool.
Yeah,
I like
but
that.
I do. I tell stories on social media.
But, like, for a long time, I think, and I've had to deal with this too, when you hear like, part of my job is social media. I work on social media. Well, what the hell is that?
Yeah, what does that mean?
You're actually explaining the thought process behind it, not just the tools and the logistics.
Yeah.
How do I work my Snapchat and stuff like that, which I think is what a lot of companies are looking for.
Here's what you do. Hold the button and it's a video. Whoa!
Yeah, but, like, a lot of places don't even get that base level.
No,
and then
it's
someone
true.
comes along and, basically snake oils them. And it was like, well, I know how to work Snapchat, but you actually understand the psychology of it.
Yes.
Right.
There's kind of sort of like 3 stages of social media, I guess, as far as when you approach a campaign or content that you're creating. It's developing that content plan and creating the content and the assets around that. There's implementing the content plan and actually doing it, which means tweeting and posting and snapping and whatever. And then there's the analytics part afterwards and the strategy. And that's where you take the time and reflect on what worked, what didn't work, did we reach our goals?
Triage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like, you kind of really want to look at those three parts of social media, and it's not just about posting a tweet and writing in under 140 characters. It's like really, really putting thought into what do I want, how am I going to get it, and did it work?
I have a question. How do you convince people that that's for real? And I don't mean this isn't supposed to be an insult, because I think your insight is incredible. but we are dealing with a huge generational gap.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't need to convince us.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Yeah, and so,
I know,
so
you guys are easy.
Yeah, because we
you
get
have me
it.
on your show. You've already convinced.
But you're talking to people that quite literally, this is. I imagine you explaining it to my dad, because everybody in upper management's about my dad's age. How do you go and sell yourself on this, sell your skills on this as a contract worker for an enormous brand like this?
That's a really good question. It's really hard to answer because it takes a lot. What you kind of have to do is be able to show the dollar value, or at least the benefit of having a social account. So you can show that by saying, this is what I can do as far as reach and engagement. When you're dealing with something like sales, you can say, this is our conversion rate. This is what it takes to convert this many people into actual sales and increase your revenue. You can also just, look at case studies and say, like, you need to create engaging content, and go from there. Like that, it's a very hard question because I haven't really ever had to necessarily sell myself without showing somebody what I do.
Well, I guess that's how you do it then.
Yeah. So, I mean, any sort of work that I've done has really just been because, or any contracts that I've gotten recently at least, have just been because people have seen my work or seen me running around an event and said, hey, like, I went onto your account and I saw all the stuff you were doing and that's great. Do you want to come work? Do you want to come do this contract, or do you want to come work for us? And that's like, it's really how it works. Like, the best way to justify what I do is to show people what I do. And also, but like the big thing, and maybe the hardest thing to do, is show the value in a dollar amount. Because at the end of the day, anyone in upper management, anyone who's selling a product, which is any company, really wants to know, if I'm going to pay you X amount of money to do this, what am I getting in return? And you have to be able to show this is what you're getting in return and what is important to you. If that's conversions to sales, or if that's just creating really compelling and engaging content, if that's storytelling, what is that? If that's revenue, if you want to go for like a branded content strategy, something like that, you have to really be able to show the dollar value of your work.
Yeah, so
which is one of the hard things we struggle with.
Yeah, one thing I've talked about a lot is like identifying what you're good at and identifying a need within a company. Mm-hmm. But that's just part of it. You have to assign a worth to it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And that's hard.
It's
that's
really
difficult.
hard because, I mean, you're going to go up to someone and say, you're going to need to pay me X amount of dollars. Okay, well, social media is not, unless you have a branded strategy behind it, or unless you're converting to sales, how are you going to justify your salary, let alone all of the other things you're going to ask for? Because you might need to travel, you might need to get new equipment, you might, there's all this laundry list. So if you say, oh, I need $10,000 or whatever it is, $5,000 to do this project, you have to be able to give them back more than, in whatever way that is.
Well, and it's obviously worked, right? Because, I mean, you've logged, God, you probably logged like as many air miles throughout the season as like Chris Johnston, or like maybe even more.
CJ might probably has more than I do, but
I don't know.
In 2 years, I've been able to take a very large, like many flights for free as my vacation, which has been very nice.
To Kenora.
No, I've never been. I've never done hockey day.
You've never done?
No, I've never been able to do it.
So you do okay. So you do a lot of work with hometown hockey, which is I love hometown hockey because it's a story show.
Yes.
And not just a story show that you're involved in.
It's not the story show.
There's like we're at 2.
Yeah.
We're at 2. Everyone keeping count?
This due to rise, by the way.
Yes.
Bet on this being up. It's a show that talks about the fabric of Canada.
Yeah.
Talks about the love of hockey, and I think Ron and Tara are so great for that. Ron has always been about that, and it feels like this show was just waiting for Ron to happen. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like this show is that's been Ron MacLean, right?
Yes.
Ron MacLean was hometown hockey on Hockey Night in Canada, and now he's got both shows.
Yes. And Tara is amazing.
She's
amazing. Tara is sort of her take on storytelling is such a great compliment to Ron's storytelling, and together, just to have watched the two of them kind of grow together and has been really interesting. And the issues and the stories that are important to Tara, she really brings into her own, and same thing, the stories that are important to Ron, he brings into his own, and they support each other in such a, like, they're like parents. They're like such a nice couple together. And anyway, it's just especially this season, it's like so nice to have watched their relationship blossom and turn into such a partnership that, like, it's I'm really excited for the season that's coming.
Trust. The new Dawn?
We can't even go there.
No, so it's just a different thing.
It's just a different thing.
She's older, man.
She is.
No.
Yeah.
I've worked with Tara. She comes out on BT all the time.
She's one of those people who just never gets off the television. Like, you could change the channel and she'll be on.
Yeah, I remember I asked her once, I said, how do you do this? Because I said, I know you came from, she was on, when I was in Calgary, she was in Calgary as well. Yeah. She did Breakfast Television Calgary. And I said, how are you doing this? You've got kids? Like, you're home for a day a week, maybe? I said, how are you making this happen? And she says, you got to make hay while the sun shines. And I said, that's a very Calgary saying, but it is. I mean,
it's true. It's true.
She said, fuck my kids.
No, I don't think that's what she said.
We haven't seen her for a while.
Yeah.
No.
But she's so. But back to the storytelling thing. I think, unfortunately, in sports, the thing that's lost, but the thing that we love the most, is the story. Mm-hmm. Right? It's we get so bogged down day to day, and we do it on this show. Here's this person's Corsi and their Fenwick and their, whatever the basic numbers are.
And even the intangibles.
Right.
It's all boring.
But we...
Unless you're watching the damn thing.
Right. But over the course of weeks and months, a story arc develops, right?
Yeah.
And that's, what the Leafs were last year with this Cinderella sort of experience, and then they push, Goliath to the 6th game, and, really, I mean, that was the story that kind of came out. And what I love about Hometown Hockey is it's that every week. There is a story, there's a connection. So for you, when you're telling that story, and you've got, they've got 5 to 7 minute segments, right? You got one post to sum that up. How do you do it?
But you don't have to do it in one post.
Okay.
So you can tell a story through all different ways. The great thing about the internet is I have infinite time. I can tell a story and I can take 20 minutes I can't take 20 minutes to tell a story, but I can do, if I have one post, I can do a video. I can have Ron or Tara or whoever take 5 minutes, or an alumni, take 5 minutes to tell the story of this. And people are going to be far more engaged in watching that video than they are going to be in reading 140 characters or reading some words.
Sure, absolutely.
A huge strength of yours is that you're not bashful. Like, you just run up to people and you're like, hey, need you for 20 seconds. Can you do it?
Yeah, and you can't, it's terrifying sometimes. And you've, Steve, you've seen me freak out for 10 minutes.
I've seen it.
And you've seen me be like, Steve, I just need to hold your hand for 1 second.
Is 5 feet tall and scares the daylights out of you.
You need that, though, because you're not just social media. You're a producer.
Yeah.
You're producing on-air content.
Yeah.
If you're doing videos, that's a producer.
Yeah. And I often have to edit my own videos, and I have to write my own content. I have to write my scripts, and you do a lot of very producer jobs now. It's not broadcast TV. I'm not cueing anybody, but I'm creating my own videos, and I'm creating my own content, and I'm writing all my stuff, and
on any given day, you probably talk to more people than a lot of radio hosts and even TV hosts.
Sometimes.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. And your job is to get the best out of them in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
It's
no,
crazy.
but you really start. Hometown hockey is in a relaxed atmosphere like Hometown Hockey, you're given space to be able to talk to the person for a little bit ahead of time. And you can kind of warm them up to you a little bit. So for example, if I'm doing a Snapchat interview, which I take 6 questions and you get 10 seconds to answer, you kind of you talk to the person you're interviewing for a little bit, get a little bit of a sense of, are they going to have a hard time with this? Are they, and you make them comfortable, because a lot of times if you're interviewing, I would never ask Daryl Sittler to do a Snapchat interview.
Would you ask him to hold a cookie above his head? Do you know that story?
It would be a great post.
Do you know this story?
It would be a great picture.
No.
I asked Mark Messier to hold a Stanley Cup cookie above his head, and he said no.
Why would you like? Why would you do that?
Right?
It seemed like a great. Imagine if he had done it. Imagine if he had been like, "Oh, fun thing? Yes, I'll do that."
But
fun
he
thing.
wouldn't do it.
I know.
Know
I know
your
that now.
audience, Steve.
I know that now.
Know your audience.
I know that now. I'm gonna get someone to do it one day. I'm just gonna keep a cookie in my pocket.
Someone will do it, but Mark Messier will not do it.
No, but not the captain of No Fun. And briefly the Vancouver Canucks, but everyone forgot that. Anyway, sorry.
He's a very nice and wonderful person.
Yeah.
But you just have to know the right questions to ask him. And and that's with every single person you interview, player, musician, whoever, you just have to know who they are and what they're going to do. And if Mark Messier has never done anything fun before, what makes you think he's going to do something now?
I don't know. I had never met him before. I thought maybe
You should have handed him.
Guy. I've seen his Lay's commercials.
You should have handed him.
Was that at the Hockey Hall of Fame?
No, this
didn't
was
he,
at our
like-
Rogers store launching. The Hockey Hall of Fame one was where I told him I had a podcast and asked him about a story that Nick Kiprios told me, and he was not enthused.
He just doesn't like you.
Yeah, I'm
just
tapping
give up.
out on Mark Messier.
But your
like,
opening,
give up.
in that particular case was you. I mean, like if he even remembered you from before, which
he certainly didn't.
okay.
Thank goodness.
So
Right.
so if he had remembered Steve, it was the cookie. That was their first introduction.
Right.
And then the second thing is he's like, so I have this podcast. And then goes into the question. And and I've said this many times, if you say to anybody you have a
might as well
podcast,
have farted.
instantly they don't take you seriously.
Yeah,
which is
like
fine.
social media.
Yeah.
Right. So you'd have some insight in that. I just found it so funny that your reaction to the cookie was, why would you do that?
Why?
Because everybody else's reaction was, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And stories better with people. We were at the draft in Buffalo,
Mm-hmm.
and
that was so fun.
And I go, holy smokes, that's Darcy Tucker. And he just looks down and goes, Story! And like you two exchange a big hug.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've wanted Darcy Tucker to hug me since I was a child. How did you get that to happen?
And he's great.
You know.
Darcy's awesome.
Darcy's great. Darcy's neat.
Which player was most confused by Snapchat? They just didn't know what it was.
I don't do.
Mike's fine.
I don't typically do Snapchat with players who I know won't get it. So I typically reserve
Don't look at me, Jesse.
Snapchat for
Like if it was PK, right? PK Subban would yeah.
Easy. So I reserve Snapchat a lot of times for players and people who are younger, or who are like, not necessarily like not in their 60s kind of thing. And with like people that if I want to do like a Snapchat interview, for example, then. And it's a player or an alumni who probably has no clue what I'm talking about. All I tell them, I don't even use the word Snapchat. All I tell them is, we're going to do
smart.
a 60-second
That's
interview. You've got 10 seconds to answer each question. And I just put the phone and I just do the phone and they just think they're recording video. And then I put it on a Snapchat and I save it and whatever and do whatever else I'm going to do with it. But, and I tell them, don't worry, we can redo it a few times. Like, don't be nervous. It's
Right.
okay.
That always helps.
And
yeah.
because you can, it's not live. And I say, we can always try it again if you don't like your answer, that kind of thing. And I show them the video, say, yeah, okay, post,
That's big.
go on to the next one. Yeah, okay, post, and go on to the next one. It's really about establishing that trust and that comfort and not confusing anybody with oh, Snapchat? What is that? What's going on? Huh?
It's not good when you have to explain the platform.
Well, and what am I going to say? How am I going to explain Snapchat quickly to somebody? It's
Daryl
it's
Sittler. Yeah, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's tough to explain to a guy like that. My dad's age.
He is the first time I ever interviewed him, he is the most intimidating interview I have ever done.
Daryl Sittler.
But the second time I interviewed him, it was much easier. And he has just such a commanding presence, and he knows exactly what he wants to answer and what he wants to say. And
He's definitely not long-winded.
but he will go into detail about certain things
If you hit him on the right
if you-
topic.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, the first time I interviewed him, it was very kind of very basic questions, and it was boring stuff for him. So he basically told me what to ask him. And me being a little bit intimidated and being whoa, you're telling me what to ask you? Huh? What? Huh? Oh, also, you're Daryl Sittler. Bah! You know, internally freaking out. You kind of just let yourself get wrapped up into it. And like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, man, Storie, like, really?
You gotta just put blinders on.
Yeah, you do. But it was a great learning experience. Like and then you take that and you say, how do I not let myself be intimidated like that again? And it wasn't intimidated in a bad way. It was still a fine interview. But you know, you have to maintain a level of control. And when you have your subject telling you what to say, it's a little bit like, oh, that's weird.
Intimidating.
Yeah. But the second time I interviewed him, it was like, we got into some really interesting and kind of insightful topics. And
like what? What did you guys talk about?
We just talked about, it was like 20 questions, and it ended up being like a 20-minute piece or 20-minute interview. And we just kind of talked about like keys to success, or like how do you get through the bad days kind of thing. And really,
of which there were many when he played for the Leafs, unfortunately.
Well, and just in general. And, you know, he always said, like, wake up every day. He woke up every day and said, I'm going to do the best I can today. And I try, and like, when I'm having a bad day or I wake up not really feeling myself, I just think about that. And I think about like,
Daryl Sittler do?
Yeah, and what would someone like Daryl Sittler do who went through a lot of hard days and a lot of challenges, and, you know, like, I just, you know, and at the end of the day, did I do my best today? Mm-hmm. No? Okay, well, why? And you think about that, and like that constant reflection is only going to make you better, and is only going to make you stronger. So that's always kind of like something that I really take from that interview, and I'm like, oh, I learned something.
That's captain material right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He's intimidating to me a little extra because he actually kind of looks like my dad.
He does look like your dad.
He does, right? Okay, thankfully you'll back me up on that one. Yeah, it freaks me out a little bit every time.
It is weird when you meet people who are like either coworkers or bosses or like an alumni or a player or something who looks like somebody in your family, especially one of your parents, and you're like, I want to be like, you're like I want to be cool and fun and like relaxed with you, but I also like need to treat you like my boss.
Yeah.
Like, it's, you know, it's really weird. There was one boss that I had who looked like a little bit like my dad, and like sometimes it was just really hard to not be like, hey, Dad. Oh.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Well, especially if you've got a good rapport.
Yeah, exactly. Or like having drinks with them after work one day, and you're like, I can't get over this. It's too weird.
Usher wrote a song about this, I believe.
Yes, you remind me.
Who's someone who's a little older, maybe in the Daryl Sittler range, even older than that, who surprised you with how much they knew about like social and stuff like that?
That's a good question.
Like, I would never expect Johnny Bauer to be like, no, you got the camera facing the wrong way, and then turn it around and like perfect, pristine clearness. And
Ricky Vive calls me Periscope.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that you call him Ricky Vive.
Yeah. Ricky Vive.
Can we just talk about that for a second?
Ricky Vive
Kenny
and
Hollins,
I,
Taylor Dregs. Oh, that's amazing.
That's great,
he calls
though.
me Periscope. So he doesn't necessarily know a ton, but he's like still he's all right on social.
He's hip with the kids?
He's hip.
Uh-huh.
He's hip. He's got a great shoe game.
Does he own Yeezys?
No.
We should get Ricky Vibe, some Yeezys. See if you put them on. That would be cool.
No, he's more into the really pointy
dress shoes.
Like,
he's classic.
I don't want to say like alligator skin, but like that kind of like, or like snake skin kind of very like he's got like wears very pointy shoes. Anyway, his shoe game's on point.
Now we're later Gators. Sorry.
Have you ever talked to Luongo about his Twitter account?
No.
And how good it is?
He is amazing.
He's a master.
He's like one of my spirit animals.
So it's all him, right?
Yeah. Okay. Like I have no idea how he does it. Like I'm just like, you are a god.
So with regards to like, okay, so Daryl Sittler, amazing. Like I remember I was at a restaurant once and Daryl Sittler happened to sit at the table next, and I was with my mom and my fiance. and he came over to say hi to my mom, and she introduced us, and I stood up and was like, "Hi, it's nice to meet you, Mr. Sittler, sir." Yeah. And like, my fiance is like, "Really, Mr. Sittler, sir? Like, who the hell talks like that?"
Yeah, Mario Lemieux is M.
Right? My boy M.
What's so special about this guy?
But for you, so what are some of the interviews that really stick out in your mind where you're like, that was magic and it just clicked? What was it?
Chris Pronger in Winnipeg. I guess like just over a year ago at the end of season 2 of Hometown
Which
Hockey.
I can't say I've ever heard anyone say, "Yep, Chris Pronger, great interview."
Amazing interview.
He's a smartass, man.
He's brilliant.
Really?
Brilliant.
Okay, so what happened?
We were doing like a Facebook Live interview, and we just had this, like, it was just really relaxed, and he was really relaxed, and we didn't get huge into concussions or anything like that,
No.
but we just had a really great chat. It wasn't really an interview, and it didn't feel like an interview. And that was the first time where I kind of said, this is the kind of stuff I like. Mm-hmm. This is awesome.
Connection.
Yeah, this is the connection that I want to have with somebody. And he was just like, it was fun, it was funny, it was serious when it needed to be serious. And he wasn't, he has a lot of great things to say. And I think he felt, because it wasn't a TV camera, it was just me and my phone, that we could have a little bit more of an intimate conversation. And and it was great. And then afterwards, he was answering fan questions through Facebook Live. And afterwards, he continued to like type people questions or answers to their questions for 10 minutes afterwards.
Wow. So you enjoyed it?
He did. He had a really good time, and it was one of our best streams, like one of our best Facebook Live broadcasts. So,
can you remember some of the stories that he would have told?
Not off the top of my head.
It's always hard. I know it's hard. It's an unfair question, because you can never remember after you do it.
No. There's a lot of things I can't remember after I do them.
I think a lot of athletes, they don't mind talking to fans.
Yeah.
Right? I think if you emphasize that, which I assume is what you did, that he's going to be talking to fans and not to some dickhead reporter. Like I think most athletes are down for that. Mm-hmm. Is that the impression you get?
Absolutely. Yeah. And when I think too is that the great thing about what I do is it's just I say it's a little girl in her camera, which it is. It's a 4'11" girl.
I called you 5 earlier.
I was going to correct you, but I let it slide.
My bad.
A 4'11" girl and an iPhone. Like it's really not intimidating. There's no lights. We just sit down in a quiet room and let's talk. And if and I let them know if it's live or if it isn't live, or if they want to do it again and that kind of thing. And they're really just talking to me. And I try to keep them just as calm and chill as possible. And you can read someone really quick. Like, is it going to be good? Is this person a good talker? Are they interested? How are they sitting? What is their body language saying? And and I've gone in saying I'm going to do a Facebook Live with someone, and then said, no, I'm going to film this. And if it's good, I'll put it up. If it's not good, or I'll take little bits of it and use it in other ways. Because you just see that maybe they're just not up for it that day. And I don't want that subject to feel like I'm pressuring them into doing something that I'm not going to get the best out of them. Ron can get the best out of them. Tara can get the best out of them. Like, I'm very conscious that I'm still learning, and that I can't, that I still need to really work on what I'm doing and how I interview people and those skills. So if I'm not feeling confident that I'm going to get what I want and going to get the best out of the person, then I might go for a different medium versus live.
How influential have Ron and Tara been in terms of skills for that?
In every single thing that I do, I think about them.
Tell me, what makes Ron MacLean so special?
His way of speaking to you, and not to a greater audience, to you or to you. It's and the very first day I ever met Ron was literally my first week on the job. They're like, we did this Twitter chat with the Bare Naked Ladies with Ron. He came in and sat down, and his warmth and generosity and awareness was the very first things that I noticed. And so we start this Twitter chat, and I'm typing for him, and I say, okay, Ron, let's start it. Hey, everyone, I'm here talking with Bare Naked Ladies, and this is supposed to be in Ron's voice. And he said, I'm going to stop you right there. I would never say everyone. I would say hello. And it's just that little change of being direct. And then like a year ago, he was on Tim and Sid, and he said something similar, where he said, it's not about, all of these people in the room. It's not about all of these people watching. It's about you watching. And he looked directly in the camera, and still to this day, this scene and this moment gives me chills, because he looked directly in the camera, and he was, even though he's talking to such a national audience and millions of people, he spoke to me. And that's what you get from Ron, is that immediate connection, even though the show is being broadcast to millions of people, millions of people are watching and listening, you feel like everything he's saying is directed to you, and you make that connection. And when you see him in person, and when you see him connecting with fans, it's again, he has blinders on, and you have his full attention for the amount of time that you need. And he listens, and he remembers, and he speaks to you as if, doesn't matter who you are, if you're a kid, if you're 80 years old, if you're 40, if you're whoever, doesn't matter, you're all the same. And that's the one thing. So when I type, and when I craft posts, and when I am thinking about how I'm speaking to people on social, and then also when I'm interviewing them, it's really about that connection. How do I make, instead of saying, hi everyone, we're here today at blah blah blah, it's like, hello, we're here today because I want to speak directly to one person.
It's more personal.
Yeah.
When you think about it, social media especially, but I think even television is actually kind of an intimate experience.
It is.
Because, you might be watching in a room full of, 10, 20 people, but I think a lot of people maybe watch it in a room by themselves with 2 or 3 people, and you want to feel like they're talking directly to you.
Yeah, and you want to know that they're talking directly to you. And that's what makes kind of how Ron tells stories so special, and why it's been such a, I guess, why people see him as such a great storyteller, is because of that connection that he makes with the viewer and with the person watching.
Really contextualizes facts. Doesn't just spit them out at you. He goes, here's why this is important.
Exactly.
Here's why this is special. Here's why you care about this person, about this story, et cetera, et cetera.
This is why I care about something that happened in Newfoundland, or to this player I've never heard of, but now I want to know everything about this player.
That's great. And you get to spend pretty much every weekend with him.
Yeah.
That's cool. So hometown hockey flies around the country.
Yes.
Okay, so you get to see a lot of the smaller towns that a lot of us never get to see.
Yeah.
And that's so cool. I think, that's true Canada to me, is the, it's the small northern towns where these communities really do base themselves out of a hockey rink, right? It's like football in the States. You that's where you congregate. That's your community center. Yeah. That's where it all happens. And it used to be church, but this is the new church, I think.
This is church. This is my church anyway.
It's your church.
Yeah. So hockey is my church.
So let's talk about, so what does a Sunday look like for you? You're in small northern town. What do we let's say you're in
Thunder Bay.
Not even. Let's go smaller than that. Let's go Flin Flon, Manitoba.
Flin Flon. All right.
Home of Bobby Clark.
Or do we maybe even need to start on Saturday?
Yeah, you have to start on, but you start on the Thursday or Friday when we land. So we come in, so Tara, myself, and our production team come in on a Thursday or Friday, and we spend Friday typically shooting Tara's My Hometown Must. And so you're there, so you shoot a feature, and you may attend if there's a game, like a local game, whether that's with the CHL team or the Junior A team or Junior B team, or maybe it's a minor hockey game, who knows.
The Flin Flon Flamingos.
That should be the team.
It should be. If it's not, it should be.
You should start that team.
Yeah.
I'm going to. GM, right here. Creating my own job.
Creating your position.
Exactly.
I will be GM too.
Oh,
because you can't.
Because you want to be.
Because I'm creating it.
That's fine.
I would just say assistant GM, but GM
2.
But what about his dreams?
2.0. Yeah, but what about your dreams?
Return of the management. I don't know.
My dreams! You never cared!
And then you'll be president.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah. So
cool.
So you've got a
new business plan.
You've got to go with Tara on now. You don't want to give away the feature,
no.
right? So when she's shooting a feature,
but you do want to show, and this is with all of our features. You do want to show the behind the scenes because that helps build excitement. That makes people, that gets people engaged. It gets the community engaged. It also gives a good reason for you to watch our broadcast, and we really want you to watch our broadcast. So you go and then you participate in the community. So a lot of Tara's My Hometown Must is doing something in the community that you would want to do if you visited that place. And that's been a number of different things. Sometimes a little crazy and sometimes very cold and sometimes super, super crazy and fun. So
I love when she goes to the East Coast and sings in like Kitchen Kaylee's and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because she's a singer, right? That's like right in her wheelhouse.
She's an amazing singer.
Yeah. So okay. So you shoot on Friday.
Yep.
Then what?
And then so Friday night we'll go to a game if there's one available, or we work a lot with the Alumni Association, so maybe there's an alumni game or whatever it is. Saturday, I sort of spend my time on site, and that involves everything from gathering content from people on site enjoying our activations to interviewing alumni to even possibly going on another shoot. This year, the role is changing a little bit as far as what content is coming from site, and there's more of a focus on, the community and what's around the community, and I don't have to be chained to the site for 6 hours or 5 hours, however, from 12 to 5. I kind of have a little bit more space to go out and seek out those hockey stories and find out what's the story behind that hockey shop that everybody goes to, that even there's a skate sharpening store in Newmarket that pros go to get their skates profiled. I learned so much about skate sharpening one day. I was like, whoa, I need new skates. Right. And I got my skates sharpened and they were still terrible. And I was like, I really need new skates.
I think a lot of people would be surprised by how big a nerd most hockey players are.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
And profiling skates, I've never really gone into YouTube, but there are so many specifics. It's just like their stick, or just like how they tape their stick. As much as hockey players are obsessed with the way that they tape their stick or tie their skates, or what they put on first, it's really the same thing as how their skates are profiled. It's and if you think about it, the next time you skate, how do you skate? How does your foot land? Because your both feet may not be created equal. So that's always.
So you've got to. So they look out for that.
Yeah, they do, and you can and this store in Newmarket, you just they have a drop box basically. So you go, you put your skates in a bag, you write down on a tag how you like your skates done, you put it in, you drop it off, and they have it ready for you the next day.
So Newmarket, Connor McDavid.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So he must go there.
I don't know if he
maybe not anymore.
But Steven Stamkos was their claim to fame.
Wow.
Yeah. So when he's in town, he goes and.
Which is weird because I don't think he ever lived or grew up anywhere near.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. We know somebody who owns a brewery out there, and he was talking about Stamkos and McDavid, and I think was one of the coaches out there.
I think
pretty sure he did.
That's right. I was thinking Sarnia for some. Sarnia.
So the focus this year is to kind of go and do that, and and go to those unknown hockey places, like that coffee shop where so-and-so hung out, or the local kind of hangout for when this hockey player was growing up. Where did they hang out, or what is the hockey history, or what is the community, what is hockey to the community? Mm-hmm. Where does everyone congregate? What does this arena mean to the community? And kind of get those stories. So I spend the day sort of doing that, and Saturday night I sleep.
Because Sunday's a big day.
Sunday's a big day, and often when we're in really, really cold places, you get tired very easily when you come inside, or very quickly. I'm one who will stay up until 2 or 3 in the morning, no problem. But on Saturdays after a day of hometown hockey, I have my thing where I order pizza and I go to bed by 10 o'clock. Like, I'm really cold.
And what time are you?
That's a good life, man.
What time are you up in the morning?
On Sundays depends, but usually like between 9 and 10. I'm trying to do this thing where I go to the gym, so I might try to get up earlier than that thing.
I'm doing this
thing.
Well, no, it's really like when you're on the road, it's really, for me anyway, it's really hard to juggle everything and like do all the content and handle all the content and make sure everything is ready to go for Sunday and then go to the gym. Or you're just so tired after walking around. Like, you count your steps and you're like, oh my gosh, okay, I got like 30,000, 40,000 steps today.
It's rare I see people run out of breath at events, but like you regularly do. Like you sprint around arenas whenever I'm with you.
Yes. In heels.
Sometimes you bring spares because you know.
I know that after 3 hours of a hockey game, I'm not wearing heels anymore.
You actually helped out with a video that went relatively viral, got a decent amount of views.
Oh, really?
When I was at Sportsnet watching the draft lottery for McDavid,
yes!
You shot that.
That was so good.
Oh my god!
So she had to run around, literally sprint around the building.
We did a reaction of Dangle, and like, so it was like it was Facebook Live, and like we started it, and I think like it was you and Jeff Merrick.
And Luke Fox.
Yeah, and like it was our reaction video thing, and when it happened, you like just took off, and I was like, I have to follow Dangle, and then we ran.
That was Matthews, not McDavid.
Oh, did I say McDavid?
Yeah.
My bad, Matthews. Yeah, I didn't celebrate for McDavid.
Yeah,
I was very still. Pretty stationary for that. No, yeah.
Well, it wasn't Matthews. We found out it would be Matthews, but it was the Leafs getting the first pick.
Right, and that was
which we knew it was going to be Matthews, but like there might be like a Laine maybe.
Well, that was like, Matthews just doesn't care because it's like 4 a.m. wherever he is. Patrick Laine's lying on the floor for the interview before that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then I sprint around, and then on TV, Matthews is like, yeah, I'm really excited.
Well, you know what? Steve Dangle was excited.
I was really excited. Damien Cox not as excited. I sprinted right by his desk, and I'm like, I am interrupting serious work right now, but I don't care because Matthews. Oh.
Yeah, that was fun. I like doing videos with you. We do fun stuff.
We do.
It's fun.
Yeah, and we were at the draft together.
It was
a cool, like, full circle thing.
Yeah. Yeah, what else? What else do we get to do together? Sometimes we get to do like Marlies and Leaf stuff. Sometimes, mostly Marlies.
Yeah, a lot of Marlies when they had that decent playoff run a couple years ago.
Yeah, that was fun. That's a very good example of a great learning experience where when you're dealing with an account like Sportsnet that deals with more than just hockey. Who knew? Really?
Yeah. There's also those Blue Jays or whatever.
Things like where platforms like Snapchat and Insta Stories have really like been amazing for live events is like at that Marlies game, I posted so much, like too much, on the Twitter, on the sports, on the Twitter and on Instagram, just like photos, like every 5 seconds was a freaking photo. And that's where you very much learn, like, okay, calm down, take a step back, less is more, post the best, think about what you're doing, because, and I'm guilty for this all the time, and it's always a thing that I'm trying to be more and more conscious of, is don't just post for the sake of posting. Think about what you're doing, take a breath, Storie, take 2 breaths. And think about it before you do it. And that has been hammered to me because at that Marlies game, I was literally posting like live tweeting the game and all these photos on Instagram on our feed, and it just became Marlies.
Right.
Marliesville.
Hey, Sportsnet, you're going to just get Marliesville for the next 3 hours, and everything else we did was getting buried, and like the Marlies were only important to Toronto.
Yeah, not everyone from Fort Mac gives a damn about the Leafs AHL team.
Yeah, so that's, it's like kind of always those lessons that you learn about, take a breath, calm down. You're excited, and that's great, but you need to turn that excitement into something productive and really good. And that's probably the hardest part of my job, is because I get really excited by hockey. Yeah. And when I'm in a rink, I get really excited. Well, and then you make mistakes, and then you kind of go crazy.
At a live event, you don't know what the best is going to be.
Yeah.
Like I find sometimes like I'll wait for something to happen, and it's the third period, and the magic hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
But the magic comes in the third period. You know, Rich Clune, Game 7 winner at the Marlies, 4 minutes left or whatever. How do you balance that?
You just have to accept that it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. And you let the team, like you don't, what I always find is that I appreciate this because people are trying to find things to post, but the team will often post, the score at the end of 2.
4-3.
Well, and those kinds of things are important to do when you're a news outlet and you're trying to, and people know, and you're there, but you can use like Snapchat and Instagram to tell that story. And you can use Snapchat and Instagram to tell that longer, that full like live play-by-play kind of idea. But you still want to think about like, what is the best? And if I don't post anything for a while, like to the main feed or to Twitter or to Facebook, it's okay.
You're still doing your job.
You are still there. You're still doing your job. And that's the hardest thing for me to remember is that if I just like post a bunch of crap, all the good stuff is going to get buried.
Right.
So just take a breath. Like, do you need to post that? Also reread it 10 times and then read it again.
Oh, I should learn from that. Yeah. A lot of spelling errors. One spelling error ruins a good tweet.
It does.
So fast.
Yeah. And there's no getting that back.
No editing that.
No. You've just screwed up. You have messed up. And you get wrapped up in it so much and you get so excited and you're so excited. And then often too, like when you're at events where there's like 2 or 3 games, like World Cup or World Championship, you're by the last game, you're like, and the like 10th day, you're just like,
Is this exciting? Is this even exciting
or just
anymore?
like your brain doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's where you really have to like work harder when your brain doesn't work. Because otherwise you tend to make mistakes and then you get people texting you saying, you just made a mistake! And you're like,
Yes, of course.
So these are all the emotions that I go through.
Right.
My brain isn't strong. So when you get to that point where you're just tapioca pudding in the head, how do you go on? How do you work? Because it's not like necessarily a physically exerting job. You need to be thinking.
Yeah.
So how do you think when you can't think anymore?
You always have a little bit of reserve left.
Yeah.
And you've seen me enough at live events that there's always Energizer Bunny. Mm-hmm. There's 1,000% and nothing less.
I always want story energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have lots to give. I will just throw some at you. But you always have a little bit left, and you also have to be really conscious and aware of yourself. And so you have to say like, hey, I'm really tired. So, or like, I got to go sit down for a second. So you got to get to the end of the period. And then at the end of the period, you have 15 minutes to sit down and go find a quiet place and you sit down. And if you have to put your head down and sleep for 3 minutes, you do it. Like you find your quiet place and you do it. Or if you have multiple games and you need to take a little like 5-minute breather, you take a 5-minute breather and you put your head down and you just like, okay, I'm going away into my own little world and I'm going to come back and I'm going to be ready to go. And that's all it is. Drink water,
No, you're right.
Stay hydrated. Yep. Eat something. Mm-hmm. Don't ever starve yourself at an event. You
always got plastic bags.
I always have I always got almonds. Almonds are one of my favorite things. I have protein bars. I have I do a lot of Vega protein powders and workout accelerators and all of that kind of stuff. It's man, just take some of that. Find whatever works for you. What works for me doesn't work for the rest of the world. But I drink some water, chug a bottle of water at some point during a game. Go pee because you probably have to go pee at that point.
Sure.
Use the bathroom, yes. and eat some almonds and be ready to go and just focus beyond belief. Just really, 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 really focus.
So what's more difficult to do? A thing like hometown hockey, which is every single week and it lasts a few days and you're running around from place to place, or something like the IIHF World Championship that is 10 days
intense,
nonstop, one place?
It's like 18 days, but...
Oh, 18? Sorry, I thought you said 10.
Days.
It's
no.
18 days?
18. It was from the 5th until the 20th, and we got one day off. So, no, 14 days.
Wow.
Straight.
Yo.
That's fun, but that's intense. That's a lot.
Yeah, but World Cup was the same. I worked for CBC for the Olympics, same deal. I would say hometown hockey is more tiring. Hometown hockey is just, it's a longer burn, so it's a slower burn. So you're traveling every week for 24 stops, and you kind of like, it's a rinse and repeat over and over and over again. And the burnout rate is like, by the end of it, we're all a little like wigged out, and we're all a little like
jumpy and
curmudgeon-y sometimes, and like, we all get like that. And then that's where the awareness comes in, and you have to say like, oh, right, I'm not myself today. Is there something that I need to do to help me be more of myself? And if that's going to the gym or doing yoga or sitting in bed eating pizza and like shame pizza, whatever it is.
Shame pizza?
No such thing.
I don't think that exists.
Pizza,
like watching, taking a night off and just like watching a movie, really like thinking about your health and your mental. It's not just physically being healthy, it's mentally being healthy. World Cup and World Championship and Olympics are just like, for me, it's a sprint. So it's easy. Like, I mean, it's not easy, but it's a sprint, and you can see the end. Hometown hockey, like, it's really hard to see April right now.
Sure, of course.
I can't even see December. So we aren't even into the hockey season yet.
I'm trying to picture the first game of the season.
Oh, God.
And I'm really struggling with that. Picturing like the playoffs. No, that's alien.
Yeah.
That's another
yeah,
universe.
I know. I was at the rookie tournament last week, like the rookie game, and I was like, I'm happy because it's September and I'm in a hockey rink, and this makes me very happy. The hockey was like mediocre, and I didn't really watch that much of it at the end of the day. but it was like, oh, this is so nice. And then I was like, we have so many more months of this. Right.
But it seems like, I don't know, you're the kind of person who needs to be doing that.
Oh, I do, all the time.
So many hockey people just get lost at the end of the season. Chris Johnson went to Japan.
Yeah.
Friedman throws his phone into a volcano.
I
you
disappeared
bike to Montreal.
I bike to Montreal.
You bike to Montreal from Toronto.
Yeah.
Like cycled?
Yes, I
Wow.
rode my bicycle.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was really fun.
And what was that for again?
It was for the, it's called the Friends for Life Bike Rally, and it's in support of the People with AIDS Foundation. So it's the People with AIDS Foundation is based in Toronto, and they provide a massive number of services and support services to people living with HIV and AIDS.
Wow.
And a lot of it is, and they're in their 20th or 30th anniversary. Yeah. This next year is a big year for us. And so the need for support is still there, still great, because there's a lot of people have access to services that they need, health services that they need to survive, or to help them live a full and rich life when they get diagnosed. But it's the low income people and people who are living with smaller incomes who need help with income support, housing support, job security, job support, everything like that. So
absolutely.
Anyway, it was a really amazing experience, and I encourage everyone to sign up for next year.
How
BikeRally.org. 6 days.
6 days.
600 kilometers over 6 days.
Your legs must have fallen off.
No, like my legs are so ripped right now.
She was telling me heading to Smash Fest, she's like, oh, dude, like I'm going to be so good at hockey this year.
Yeah, I am. And I signed up for hockey, so I'm like, October 5th, I cannot wait to
When would you have time?
power skate.
When would you have time?
Oh, there's always time.
There's always time.
Story days are 34 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I make
Fair
time
enough.
stop. No, that's
Okay.
I wish.
That's amazing. So tell me, from the last couple years, what are your favorite stories behind the scenes? Your favorite moments with players, or with hosts, or what are your favorite moments where that you'll hang on to that moment and you'll tell your grandkids about it?
There's every year we do a hometown hockey tournament on the last weekend.
Nice.
And that's where everyone comes together. And my first year on the tour, I played hockey for the very first time in my life. Like I had skates.
Mm-hmm.
I had no stick. I had no helmet. I had never been on the ice playing hockey before. And they were totally supportive of that and my team, and they were amazing. And I kind of broke up a play at once, and I
That's cool.
We're using the wrong hand of stick because I thought I was a righty, but turns out I'm a lefty. And
well, you didn't even know which hand you should.
no, I had no idea. I'd never played hockey.
That's funny,
before.
because most of us just figure that out as a kid
As a
innately.
child.
But yeah,
Well, like,
I had
I've
no clue because I'm
never played
right-handed. I'm lefty or righty.
yeah.
So I grabbed a right-handed stick, and then I was like, kept putting it in my left hand. I was like, oh wait, no, this is like,
I'm a
no
lefty.
wait, I'm a lefty.
That's funny. That's really funny.
So that's like a really kind of standout moment for me. And we did the tournament again, and that's where a lot of times like people who may have left the tour might come back because they'll come and play the tournament, and so it's all fun, and you get a jersey to keep, and like
That's cool.
it's relatively safe. No one really gets injured. And we're all nice for
What
the
does
most
that
part.
mean? Who got hurt?
Nobody gets hurt. It's but like
MacLean
it's
throwing
definitely
elbows?
he's so good.
He is
Oh my
good. He's a
God.
great ref too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Killer ref.
Yeah. Ron can skate and like he's fast, and I'm just like I'm taking like power skating classes so I can be faster. Like
That's cool.
on a bicycle I could beat ya, but not on skates.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that kind of that's an annual thing that really stands out for me. And then I'm trying to think of our experience in Whitehorse was incredible. We went dog sledding in Whitehorse for a shoot, but
Which
Wow.
province is that?
Yukon.
Yukon. There
Yeah.
you go. Thank you.
But
Our Whitehorse listeners are so pissed
I
with
was
you right
trying,
now.
and I'm like, nope,
Is
nope.
Yukon a province or a territory?
It's
a
a
territory.
Okay.
All right. Okay. We're all taking you back to grade 6 geography now. You know what? Hometown hockey teaches you geography, so you should.
Yeah, I bet it does.
It really does.
Radio does too, because you start out in smaller towns,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it was the same thing. I'm like, where is this? Oh, okay. All right. Good.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So yeah, Whitehorse just has this very like spiritual, serene kind of feeling to it, and it's a really cultural place to be. There's people from all different places of the world who kind of come and congregate there. And so I mean, while we were there, we had pho, we had sushi, there was a Caribbean restaurant. It was crazy.
Wow.
And then but dog sledding, like you're out on this frozen river and there's like silence around you. And when I say silence, I mean silence. And it's just wild. Like it's crazy. So that was amazing. And then Nanaimo this year was a moment. So we also did this. We were invited by the First Nations community to join them on a First Nations island, and then have a welcome ceremony where they cooked us traditional salmon and bannock, and it had a traditional welcoming ceremony
so
for
cool.
us. And they brought us over in traditional canoes while they sang their people's traditional songs in front of us. And so there I am sitting in this canoe, and I'm supposed to be doing my job, which is to like film everything with my phone. And I just started hearing the oars go into the water with the canoe and the person singing. And about halfway to the island, I just stopped. And I just was there present in the moment. And I let myself feel that moment and feel the energy of what these people were giving us. And it was like it was one of the most transformative opportunities I've ever had.
So that's really important, eh? Like someone who kind of has to be on their phone
Yes.
for your job,
Yes.
you still make sure to put it down.
That was like a moment where I was like, I've got what I need.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have this moment.
That's
And
cool.
I just,
Mine.
yeah. And that was appropriate because like I said, like I had what I needed. I had the photos, I had the content. And you always overshoot, but I was just like, you just felt it, and that was the power of this community and the power of this like experience. And you can't go through life always with your head down and typing on your phone. Like, you have to just stop sometimes and say, I want to be present. I need to feel and experience. And then, I mean, you're going to make better content if you have that experience.
People should do that at concerts.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No
and that's like,
no one wants to watch a terrible video.
And coming from a music background, like, I love live music. And when I see people with their phones up, it's not only just like, it's distracting for me. And I'm like, I'll take, a couple pictures and stuff. But your pictures are never good at concerts.
No, lighting's bad.
Yeah.
Your camera's bad. Sounds bad.
Molly show where if you pull out your phone, it's going to get elbowed across
You're going to get flogged.
Yeah. You will indeed get flogged. I've been to a few.
I'm not sure
what sweat is on you.
It just...
Who does this belong to?
The concert is about the experience.
Absolutely.
And I always... I feel like we're getting robbed of that. And I don't mean to sound old or out of touch, whatever. Take whatever video you want. But like I was at a Doobie Brothers and Journey concert last summer.
Oh, so good.
So it was amazing. Were you there?
No, but that sounds amazing.
So Journey's got this amazing story where their lead singer, Steve Perry, left them in like 1985 or something. And then they get this guy. The band wants to keep going, so I guess
from the Philippines.
Yeah, so they get the guy off YouTube who doesn't speak a word of English, but sings their songs perfectly, and he's like 30. So he comes out, and they Journey has hit after hit after hit, and they just explode with these songs and that sort of thing. And they're older guys, but they've got this really young frontman, so it kind of keeps them going. The whole time, there was a woman tapping me on the shoulder to move out of the way. And
what?
The reason
That's terrible.
The reason that was the case was because she wanted to take pictures. And she kept wanting to take pictures and take videos, and then she'd be like, "Can you please get out of the way?" Like, she would be really, really rude about it. And I'm like, "I bought these fucking tickets, lady. Okay? She was shorter than me. I'm like, but that's not my problem."
Yeah.
And so anyway, I was super kind because you always want to be nice to people, right? You never want to be rude. And she kept showing me like pictures. She's like, "See? They're really great pictures." And I'm like, I actually told her, I'm like, next time, why don't you get like a press pass? If you have a blog or something, like, get a press pass.
Yeah.
Get up close. Do it. But she had an SLR camera and wanted to take her pictures. And who are you showing those to? What are you doing with that? How much of that concert do you remember?
Super animated.
Yeah.
What's that?
That I would just be dancing all over the place.
Oh.
Some will win. Some will lose. I would just get in the way of every shot. Oh yeah. Blurry hands and fingers in every shot. This big nose.
Yeah.
I'd make sure it was in every single shot.
Caprice was ready to kill her, but my fiance was ready to kill her. But I was like, no. Everybody enjoys their concerts in their ways. But because it's just interesting that you bring in that moment. There is psychology behind the fact that we don't remember things when we're taking pictures of them. Mm-hmm. We don't actually soak in that moment. So it's amazing that you did that and you thought about that because it's true. I mean, it's something that, unfortunately, we're remembering less and less of the amazing things that we're now able to do that our parents and our parents' parents could never do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very true. I'm reading this really interesting book called Moonwalking with Einstein, and it's all about memory and how we remember. And it's actually about this writer goes on this journey of basically there are memory competitions that happen around the world and tricks and tools that people learn on how to remember information instantly. And so these memory competitions involve, like, we're going to give you a poem, a very, very long poem that you've never seen before that was written specifically for this competition. You have, X amount of time to memorize it, which is a very short time to memorize it. The competitor will read through it and then has to write it down and recite it. And then it goes through like a deck of cards, and then it goes through names and faces and lists. Anyway, so there's these really interesting kind of memory competitions and then tools to how do you learn how to remember better. And once you kind of unlock these tools, you can remember everything.
Right.
Which is very interesting.
Jesus.
But I just finished, literally last night, this one section on talking about in kind of ancient Greece how I think it was Socrates was very much against writing things down.
Yes. Yes, he was.
Because he believed, or the belief was, that if you had to remember it by reciting it, you would be better at remembering it. You would actually have to work to remember it. You wouldn't just be able to open up a scroll and recall something. And so it was
he also hated the time. because right around that time they had the sundial, and he hated that.
Yeah.
Pluto wrote down some of the things he said about it.
Yeah.
And he hated it because he didn't like his day being divided up.
It's funny that Pluto wrote it down because Socrates
didn't write it down. Yeah,
that's what they said. Is that thank goodness that it's kind of ironic that his disciples wrote it down, because then we were able to learn from his work. So it's like there's a benefit to writing things down. They also didn't have any punctuation or spaces or uppercase or lowercase for during that time. So everything is just this mess of letters. So you actually couldn't just, you had to
tell intonation, right?
Yeah, it was just intonation. So that's how you learned how to read, was by intonation, not by specific separate words.
Wow.
So again, you couldn't just go and open up a scroll and recall something mid-scroll. You had to actually go and learn the text and then be able to reread it and recall it so that you would understand and retain the information.
Damn.
Memory is, I'm big into
it's Moonwalking with Einstein?
I'm
going to audiobook that because I don't read anything.
Okay.
Because I don't have time to sit back and read.
I think there are a lot of Canadians who might want to save the show for a few months from now.
Why is that?
Well, there might be another way to enjoy it. I'm just saying.
I'm missing this completely.
A certain thing that might be legal soon.
Oh, you mean weed?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to be clever.
That was
being coy.
We need to have Storie and Jeff Merrick on at the same time.
Yes. After we legalize marijuana.
Yes.
You guys have to be vegan though.
Oh, is he vegan too?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's right.
vegan
Yeah.
powers.
Both Storie and Jeff.
right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll bring in almonds.
That's actually not a prerequisite. Yeah, almonds.
Well,
Almonds and snacks.
I'm glad, like a true vegan, you told me.
She's actually she's good. Her and Jeff are actually
It's funny because it's true.
It is true.
Oh my god, we have Jesse and I know a guy who like
his name might as well be vegan.
it has become his identity. Like that's like his world revolves around this. And
But is he like a new one?
yes, he's a new one.
So he's like the guy from Seinfeld who converted to Judaism for the jokes.
yeah.
Give me a schmeckle of fluoride there. That is a good episode. And I know a guy who did that in real life.
Wow.
He'd be like, our people. I'm like, what do you mean our
Our
people?
people. You've been our people for like a month.
Seriously, for 6 months. I know you're listening, Ricky.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, well, Storie.
Hab suck too.
You, your stories are fantastic. I cannot wait to see, this year of Hometown Hockey, obviously, and really excited to see kind of all this stuff. Now that I love these episodes because it gives us, yes, it's not the normal hockey news, but really, quite frankly, even now, there's still not a hell of a lot to talk about unless we want to debate Tim Lilligren's first game at a rookie camp.
Tim.
A
I like that you call him Tim.
Timmy. Well, Ricky.
Ricky.
I mean, okay, quickly on David Pasternak. Pretty good deal.
Yeah, it's good news in my opinion. Like I part of me wanted it to be like a drama-filled catastrophe. Like I wanted him to hold out.
I want Boston to suffer a little.
I want Boston to suffer. Like I think it'd be a little bit funny. Plus, I'm still hanging on to the hope, that little glimmer of hope. Zdeno Chara, trade deadline acquisition, bottom pairing defenseman.
With the Leafs?
Matthews.
What?
Matthews gives Chara the cup first.
Where did you come up with this?
No, sorry. Matthews gives Marlowe the cup first, then he gives it to Chara.
When you say still holding on,
Get out.
you have to have said it in the first place. Like you've had to have said that before.
Just said this.
Still holding on to what? We've never heard that theory from you before.
Really?
Never.
Oh, that's happening.
Is this a makeup for Cabriolet?
You know what? sure. I never thought of that rationalization, but yes.
You clearly never thought this through.
Wow.
No, but it's going to happen. And Joe Thornton. Oh, just to turn the knife on
Joe Thornton and Chara?
I felt
For some
that.
reason,
I actually
Sharks fans.
felt that knife.
Yeah?
When you did that, like I felt that knife, and that I'm like,
Well,
okay, no.
you know what? Sorry, the Leafs have suffered for a little while, okay?
This
but
is like
anyway,
revenge.
Oh.
It is, but logic is prevailing, and it's selfish as well. Pasternak's deal being good, which it is, it's 6.66. The devil.
667, yep.
I know. Why did it have to be 667? Over 6 years. Nylander's not getting more than that.
No.
He's not. So that is great news for Leafs.
But actually, I'm sure there'll be a bunch of people who disagree with you. But
he might get
Yeah,
that, but he's not getting more than
goals
that.
this season.
He's not going to.
You don't know that.
I mean, if he does,
Jesse correctly predicted that Austin Matthews would score 40 goals last year. He said he's going to get 40 goals. So is Nylander going to get 40 goals this year?
No, he's not.
Oh,
but what if?
My thought on that is if he scores 40, great, pay him.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, that's fantastic, right?
Then Austin's getting like 60.
Oh,
you pay Austin whatever you want to pay him. Pay him, just whatever.
That's 100 goals. I know math. From 2 players. I will take that. Bring the 80s back. Let's go.
I'm glad your math is better than your geography.
It's not much better.
It's not.
Actually, it's not. It's not. Every now and then I think about what I would do if they didn't let me make videos for a living, and it's like staring at the night sky for too long. I start to get freaked out, and then it's just no.
Yeah.
Do we sign Polak?
Yeah, they're gonna probably do that.
Does he play with the Marlies or the Leafs?
Probably the Leafs. He's going to be a bit of a cheerleader, a guy that they just have as a reserve player. They're not going to make Connor Carrick a healthy scratch.
No.
Unless they do, because Babcock. But no, I don't think that's going to happen. And then that probably seals Eric Fair's fate. Gets buried with the Marlies, and Jets fans are asking for my opinion on Brian Little, and no.
Yeah,
I'm not giving the Jets anything.
Don't give them anything.
No.
Because you can only go wrong. But Storie, anyway, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you guys. This is really fun.
Yeah, love these because we get to look behind the curtain of someone else's job, and I just think that's awesome. And all the work that goes into that. So thank you for what you do. We're excited for this season when you actually fly out for the first time.
Yeah, what's the
Our
first
first stop is Niagara Falls on Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, so
that's a drive out.
That's nice.
If you will. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm driving out there tomorrow.
Oh.
Leafs training camp.
We will also be out there.
Oh my goodness. How are you getting there?
Driving. The vehicle.
Steve's going to bring his heels too, so you guys can run around together. Sure. It'll be cool. Yeah.
I won't actually be there. I'll be doing something else. But yeah, I will be.
By we, she didn't mean her.
I was just trying to scam a ride.
I'm sorry. No.
That's all I was trying to do. Scam a ride.
We are doing something very different than Leafs training camp.
Okay.
I mean, as fun as that. But there will be a very wonderful, actually, I believe you can expect a hometown hockey presence at Leafs training camp this weekend.
Very cool.
And that's all you're going to give me?
That's all I'm going to give you.
Jeez.
You'll have to tweet it out or tweet about it.
There will be a sign that says hometown hockey. Then that will be
at least.
I'll take a picture with it.
And a Rogers circle somewhere.
Can you, take a picture, Instagram it, tweet it, everything else, Facebook it, snap it.
I will do that. Okay.
I don't know if you are on anything else, but
Tumblr it.
Like, it would have to be a new thing.
Pinterest it.
No,
I'm not on Pinterest.
No one's on Pinterest anymore, are they?
I just go on Pinterest to find the cool decor things because I need to
recipes
update some and
Pinterest
recipes
should be
all the
called
time.
Buy this for me.
Yeah.
Should just be that's what it is, right?
Yeah, pretty
Buy
much.
this for me.
DIY or DI don't.
Yeah.
Ooh.
DI don't.
I
like that
much.
I don't. Okay.
I know we're going to work together, but good luck this season.
Thank you.
It's a grind.
You too. You guys are great.
And where can we find you on Twitter?
Storie the Pixie. It's STORIE, the Pixie.
All right.
And that's across all my channels. So Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter.
Wow, she got the branding on everything.
But now I'm kind of, that's the hardest thing. And I know we're wrapping up and stuff, but the hardest thing.
No, this is right up my alley.
This is how it goes.
Okay, sorry.
Steve saves his best stuff for the end of the show for some reason. So.
Well, no, but it's just personally finding that handle really made sense for me personally. Like when I got onto Twitter and Instagram later followed and stuff like that. So it really made sense for me to use that handle because that was kind of my brand. I'm Storie, I'm the Pixie. When I tried to DJ once, it was my DJ name.
Sweet. Wow. Where did you DJ?
Where did you DJ? Tried to do it.
I tried.
Hold on, is it on video somewhere?
No, I think I've scrubbed the internet of anything.
DJ Dangle. No.
But it was DJ Pixie, and so that was many moons ago. So Storie the Pixie made sense because that was my persona at the time. And now that I moved towards kind of a little bit more newsy or professional, or I'm turning 30 this year, it's like Storie the Pixie. Is it still me? Yes. Is it what I want to be known as? I don't know. Changing a handle though is it's
a big deal.
It's so hard and it doesn't
like turning the Titanic.
It basically is.
Yeah. Because you got to find a name that's available that works for you.
Right, and it could just be Storie Serres, and that name really does not exist. So, but except for me, but it's like everyone kind of knows me as Storie the Pixie. So this is my philosophical question with myself.
Okay.
That I have constantly.
So again, maybe everyone can help you with that.
So maybe whenever we legalize, everybody get excited about that, and then we go back to Storie with some names. But I wouldn't recommend it before that.
No,
because that would be illegal.
And too,
wrong.
it's like changing a handle means like goodbye all my followers, like goodbye what I've built for.
Goodbye your followers.
Well, it's just like it's people get so used to tweeting at Storie the Pixie, or
right.
Not that people ever tweet at me, except for when Steve Dangle tweets about me.
Maybe it's the perfect time for a little rebrand.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I think about like.
Are you verified?
No.
Oh, okay, because if you were, then you lose your check mark as soon as you change your name.
Yeah, so like, thank goodness I'm not there yet. I'm not cool enough for that.
You should be.
Verified's like such a oh, you got a blue check mark.
Oh, it's a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
When you don't have it, it's a big deal.
Really? Oh man, I got it. And I was like, this is it. This is all.
Oh, just because you have it.
But when I got it, I was because I guess I did want it.
We
You're
all
right.
want what we don't have.
You're right.
I was like, I feel more important.
I am more me than I've ever been.
Exactly, and I hope you
porn
do.
bots too. Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it's all the porn bots.
Anastasia from Ukraine. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Bring on all the Anastasias.
Click to see me live. That's basically. Oh my God, it's crazy. Yeah, that's where all your fake followers come from. Is the
That's
porn
where
bots.
all my fake Instagram followers come from.
Porn bots.
There are those too.
Or they're like,
What?
I know. I get it like on Twitter. It's like I'm very much don't get any like weird spam bots, but on Instagram I get them a lot. And I look at their profile pic, and I'm like, no,
Yeah, right.
weird. They're like 5 roses for it. I'm like,
I feel like you're not
Gross.
what appears to be Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah. I get that
not
on
a thing. Not
every
a thing.
person that adds me on Facebook is fake news.
Oh.
It's a fake profile. So I
you
just
have no friends?
I've just stopped accepting friends.
Oh.
So you can follow me, but I've just because I don't trust that anybody's real anymore.
You know, you go to LA.
Are we
you
all
interview
real?
Pink.
Are we even real?
Shh.
Such a oh.
So
I
anyway,
love it.
Are any of us really real?
yeah, right. Exactly.
I mean, are we really here? Do we exist?
Is the Socrates part continuing? Is that what
Storie, thank you
Okay.
so much for coming on.
Thank you guys so much.
We
This was
so
super
appreciate
fun.
it. We're doing 2 episodes next week, correct?
Yep.
Are we talking about either of the guests beforehand?
Carly Agro from Sportsnet and Pete Blackburn, newly of CBS Sports.
Oh.
Yes.
Have they also not pivoted to video like we have?
All I know is they hired our buddy Pete.
Good. I'm so happy. That's great. Now he can finally leave his mother's basement again.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah. Steve, tell us what that's like. No, that's not. Anyway.
I was about to go there, and I didn't.
Storie,
Something to say.
thank you so much for coming on. We will see you guys next week for a nice double episode early on. Woo! Woo!
Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Brought to you by Panago Pizza. Order at panago.com and stuff your face with deliciousness.